Sure.
Okay.
Go for it.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for coming. My name is Sarah. I'm the Adult Services Librarian here in McFarland, and we are honored to have Cheryl Rapp with us today, talking about some college savings and quite the person, College Investment Program Finance Officer. So definitely the kind of person that you would want to talk to about this, and we'll definitely have some good stuff for you to learn today. So thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here. And feel free, this is informal. Yep, I have a PowerPoint presentation, but ask questions in the middle, interrupt. I'm totally good with that. So the start of my presentation, so I'm Cheryl Rapp. I work for the Wisconsin Department of Financial Institutions, our college savings program. So that's AdVest 529. I don't know if you've heard of AdVest at all, 529. Perfect. So I'll go into that a little bit later in the presentation, but right now what I'm gonna start off with is kind of our high level preparing students kind of for post-secondary education, and then I'll go into how it's connected to college savings in general. So what I actually do for the state is I talk about preparing for post-secondary education. So I go out and I talk to parents, students, I'll go into the classrooms about providing information on how to prepare for academic career planning. Because right now, 6th grade through 12th grade, our students are taught ACP, academic career planning. What do you want to be? Who do you want to be when you grow up? How do you achieve that? And so I kind of go into a little bit more of that by promoting all the options for career planning, and then also highlighting alternatives to when someone says college, it's automatically a 4-year college. That's not necessarily the case. There's trade schools, community colleges, there's apprenticeship programs. So I kind of get it all out there. So like when someone says college, don't think I have to go to a 4-year college. That's not the case, kind of thing. Part of that is, and I'll show the website a little bit later, is we have a website which is part of the Department of Financial Institutions, and on it, circled in red is the educational services. So it's a drop-down menu that you can click on, and then you'll kind of see the college and career readiness. I circled that. So if you click on that tab, which I'll bring up the website in a little bit, but it'll actually give you information that's broken into sections for students, for parents, for teachers, and then we have a section like for responsible borrowing, and then resources. And when each section is also broken into grade level. So it's elementary school, middle school, high school, and then there's also post-college. So it's kind of walking you through the steps of how do I prepare for life after high school kind of thing. Also on that site, I have here some hard copies for you guys to take with you if you want, is a college and career readiness guidebook. And in that is kind of specific checklists. So there's a checklist for juniors of when do I do my college visits? When should I actually ask for references from my teachers? When do I actually submit my applications to schools? And then the seniors is when do I actually go through financial aid and FAFSA and stuff. So it's pretty nice. It's a downloadable PDF that's in English and Spanish. And I can actually, let me see if I can bring this up right now. There you go. So this is the website. If you just go to dfi.wi.gov, this is the homepage that you'll see. And then like I showed on the PowerPoint, if you just click on educational services, you'll get a drop-down menu. And so this will be information on AdVest 529, but the one I was telling you about was the college and career readiness. So when you click on that, here's your downloadable guide. But if you scroll further on down, I've got information for students, parents, if you click on it, educators, and then here's paying for college. Here's information for responsible borrowing. So if you actually click on the link, it'll kind of take you to financial aid information, the different types of student loans that are out there. And then I want to show you, we've got the resources on page 2, which is really good, where on the resource page, we've got your checklists, which I had mentioned. Like I said, the juniors and senior checklist is actually in the College and Career Readiness Guidebook when you download or if you grab the copy. But we also on this page have educational tools, and I highly recommend going to visit the Wisconsin U.S. Department of Ed college scorecard. So if you student doesn't know where they want to go for schooling or any of that stuff, This is put on by the U.S. Department of Education, and you can do a great search and compare costs on schools, in-state, out-of-state, 2-year, 4-year technical college. It also has a great alternative pathway. So like I said, not everyone does college. They can go on to the trades, apprenticeship programs, and it's a ton of information about the apprenticeship programs. So I just wanted to highlight that really quick for you guys. So I do recommend when you have the time to go to dfi.wi.gov and then click on that information there. Then I can, so typically when I talk to people about college, the questions I always get is, how much does college cost? Is college actually worth it? And how can I actually pay for schooling? So I'm gonna start off with, how much does college actually cost? The average cost varies depending on where you go to school in general. If you wanna go to school kind of right now for a 2-year public school, it's around $12,000 a year. Compare that to a 4-year private school, you're at $47,000 a year. So that means usually the 4-year public school, UW system type schools, are averaging around $23,000 to $25,000 depending on where you go to school. So that's a huge, huge number, and it's a shock to a lot of people too. Like, college is so expensive, how do I actually afford to go? And I'm here to kind of say, it's savings, but there's other ways to figure out how you can afford and go to school too. The most important thing though is, what's the cost of the school that you want to attend, and figure out, okay, how can I afford to go to this school? And then once you choose the school, every school you go to, any website, any college website will have like a school calculator, so you can actually plug in if you've gotten tuition, or if you've gotten scholarships, if you've gotten grants, if you've gotten any other money, you can plug that in their tuition calculator, and it'll tell you kind of the closest estimate of what the school is going to cost you for attending, kind of thing. And it doesn't matter what school you go to, what website you go to, what UW, they all have this calculator on it. And it should all be the same number that comes out depending, you know, whatever numbers, what you plug in for scholarships and things like that. I also recommend it's smart to set up a budget for the full college years. So if you're going to go for 2 years, 4 years, it might be 7 years, 8 years, doctorates, you never know. Always set up a budget. And when you set up the budget, you want to include textbooks, but also other supplies depending on what type of schooling you want to go to. So engineering, there's always mechanical, different other fees going for that school kind of thing. You want to also plan for, if you have a car on campus, there's going to be extra cost to that. Food beyond what's covered by the actual meal plan that the schools offer, and just everyday living expenses. So when students think about budget, they don't think about the added budget that goes into things too. So I try and point that out all the time. The next question I always get is college worth it? And to me, I always say college is an investment in yourself. So it's, how much do you want to invest in yourself? So yep, college is great, totally worth it. It's, what do you want to invest in order to go? Holding a bachelor's degree can boost an individual's earnings up to $65,000 a year, according to the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. That's $24,000 more than an average salary for a high school education, which is usually around $41,000. And it's $15,000 more than the average person with an associate's degree. So something to keep in mind as well. So obviously, more schooling, the higher your paycheck's going to be, the better wage you're going to have. But it's totally up to you on what direction you want to go. You can make sure that college is a smart investment by keeping costs under control and knowing what your budget is, and make sure that you're always maximizing your opportunities and your earning potentials for when you graduate with whatever it is degree that you have. Next is, how do I pay for college? So first and foremost, it's always fill out, no matter what, the free application for federal student aid, known as the FAFSA. You need to fill it out every year. It doesn't say, oh, I'm a high school senior, I only fill it out this year. Throughout your entire schooling of college, you want to fill it out, and you have to fill it out every year. It won't remember you from year to year to year. So when you fill that out, you automatically receive consideration for federal grants, loans, and then the work study program. when you fill out the FAFSA form, you'll see a checkbox that says, do you want to be considered for a work study? I tell everyone, click yes on that. Even if you don't think you want a job on campus, it's better to have that opportunity than not have that opportunity. So it's your choice. If you didn't check that box that I want to work on campus and all of a sudden you want to try and find a job on campus, they're going to overlook you for other people that said, yes, I want to be part of that work study program. So that's one of the key things when you fill out the FAFSA. Make sure you do. The next thing after filling out the FAFSA is look for all grants. There are tons of grants out there. Communities offer grants. If your child or student has a job, that company might actually offer a grant or some form of a scholarship for them to go to school. Most grants are awarded based on family financial situation, so that's always a good thing too. A lot of colleges offer grants. You just have to ask them because you may qualify depending on where your financial family situation is along those lines. So it never hurts to ask. It's always a great thing, and the schools expect students to ask too, because they're not going to automatically award you a grant because we say, hey, you're coming to school, we have money somehow from an alumni. You have to ask. The next step is then look for scholarships. And scholarships is also free money for tuition that does not have to be paid back. Most scholarships are kind of based on merit, so that's either academic or athletics. There's always something that goes with that, where it's you must maintain a certain GPA to continue your scholarship, or you must be in the sport or athlete for the 4 years in order to maintain that scholarship. So there's always requirements, but the scholarship, it's free money. So you want to make sure you stay on top of that because it's money you won't have to pay back in the end. So after grants, scholarships, comes the work study program, which is the jobs on campus, where you're being paid to maybe be an RA. So you might get free room and board if you happen to be an RA, or you can work in the financial aid office, or you can work on campus in the cafeteria, Rascal, or whatever they say. That's income for you that you don't have to worry about because they're paying you to do stuff, or it's money to help pay for books or other supplies and stuff like that. So that's where we say that's free money, because you are working, but you're working towards not having to pay something. The next thing is then a part-time job that's off school, which, yep, if you need the money, great, go for it, get a part-time job, but you want to make sure that it doesn't interfere with your schooling at all or your studying. So it's one of those work-life balance. Yep, it's great to have a job, great to make money, but if you're actually going to school, you want to make sure you can still maintain your studying and get good grades and not fail out of school. And then the last thing we say is look for private student loans if you need to fill that gap and don't have enough money at that point. And you can go to any credit union, any bank for student loans. There's just different ones out there, different types out there, kind of thing. So the main thing is it's important to remember the earlier you begin saving for college, the better, but it's actually never too late to save for college. And with that, I'm going to talk about what are 529 plans, which is a college savings program. And that's one of the ways to start saving for college. So I know that you guys said that you all know what a Advest 529 plan is, but since we're streaming this, I'm going to just say an Advest 529 is named from Section 529 of the IRS tax code. It's a college savings plan that's dedicated education savings account where contributions made into the account are invested and then earn compound interest. So it's not a savings account like some people think. It's kind of a money market, if you think about that, and it earns interest over time. Every state offers at least one type of a 529 plan, be it a prepaid plan, a direct sold, or an advisor. Here in Wisconsin, we do Advest, which is your direct sold plan. And then we also do Tomorrow's Scholar, which is sold by an advisor. So you actually have to open up a Tomorrow's Scholar through a financial advisor if you want to do that. There's minimal fees for that. Where Advest direct sold, you can go online to advest.com, open up the account, and not have to worry about it. And we do the investments for you, kind of stuff. So this slide kind of highlights that main thing. AdVest, the 529 program, is administered and watched over by the Wisconsin Department of Financial Institutions. So we are the ones that actually oversee it and make sure that the stocks are good and everything's invested good. And if there are complaints about it, they come to us, and then we'll investigate and see what's going on along those lines and stuff. Another great thing about AdVest here in Wisconsin is the tax incentives. We actually have a triple tax incentive when you save with a 529 plan. So the earnings go tax deferred in the account. Distributions used to pay for qualified education expenses come out federally and state tax free. And then Wisconsin residents qualify for a state tax deduction on contributions you put into an AdVest 529 account. So for the 2023 tax year, which taxes are going to be due on April 15th, right now, if you have an account and you put money into an AdVest account, your maximum deduction for married filers is $3,860. And if you're married filing separate or divorce, it's $1,930 for the 2023 year. That just got approved to go up in 2024. So it's going to be $5,000. And then $2,500 is the split for married filing separate, and then all that stuff. So it's a great incentive for taxes, to be honest, and it's per beneficiary. So if you have more than one child and you have an account open for 3 children, that would be $5,000 times 3. If you do your max deduction or max contributions into the account. So how do
grandparents get into that 529?
Yes, grandparents can get to the 529 account, which is great. Grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, friends, anybody.
Deduction too, if they live in Wisconsin.
So the grandparent, if they put it into an account that's not theirs, they don't get the tax incentive, but they can open up their own account and can have the tax incentive. So the beneficiary can have more than one account. It's not limited to that at all. So an aunt and uncle can open up an account for your children and all that, and they would get the tax benefits knowing that, hey, I'm saving for my niece or nephew or grandchild as well. Yep. So we do recommend promoting and letting friends know, hey, you can, instead of for holidays giving them a gift that's going to be, obsolete in 3 months or whatever, contribute to their AdVest account. It's great. And it's really easy too. When you open up an account, you'll get what's called a UGift code, and it's like a 6-digit kind of code. And all you have to do is share that code with whomever you want, and they can just go into AdVest and type in that code, and it'll bring up the name of the account so that they can just deposit money into it. And it's a smooth, easy transaction online. So you as the account owner, you have 100% control of the account. So you're the one that can control the money that leaves the account when you have to pay for higher education information stuff. You're the ones that can kind of control money going into it. Unless you share it with other people, then they can put money into it as well. So you are 100% control. Doesn't matter that you named your child as a beneficiary. They don't have rights to the overall account. But when it comes to schooling, it's in their name. So, yep, when it's time to withdraw the money, you say, I need it for little Johnny's tuition. You can pull it out, and the money can go directly to the school, or you can have a check sent to you to then pay the tuition. It's up to you, however you want to do it. Oops. And you can also change beneficiaries too. So if you have one child that decided that they didn't want to go to school or didn't use up all the money, and you have another child, you can rename that beneficiary to another child or to a niece or nephew or any of that stuff. So it's very flexible. If you decide you want to go back to school, you can name yourself as the beneficiary. It doesn't have to be somebody else, kind of thing. When it comes time to paying for qualified education expenses, you can then withdraw the money. It's good for tuition, room, board, books. It can be good for computers. So if you need a computer for schooling, you can actually use your AdVest money to pay for a new computer. What we say is make sure you keep the receipts though, in case someone does audit you of like, well, you just bought a $1,000 laptop from your EdVest fund. Is that truly for school or not? And you can show a receipt, yes, and my child's in school XYZ, and you're totally fine. You won't get taxed on it. If you take money out that's not for a qualified education expense, that's the only time you will actually get taxed on the money. And it's a 10% federal tax on the money, on the interest that occurred from the money that you had put into the account. So that's something to keep in mind as well. What's really nice about an EdVest account is it can also go towards K through 12 education. So up to $10,000 per year per child, K through 12. And you can pay up to a lifetime maximum of $10,000 for student loan debt. So if you have student loan debt, you can take out the money to pay for $10,000 of that student loan debt if you happen to have that in your EdVest account. What's also brand new that just passed legislation in January this year is if you have an account and you have money left over, you can actually roll it into a Roth IRA now in the beneficiary's name. So whoever you had as the beneficiary, it's pretty much you just started a Roth IRA for them. So we're really excited on that one, where a lot of people are like, what do I do if my child doesn't go to school? Continue contributing to it, hang on to it. The only thing with that requirement right now is it has to be open for 15 years in order to do the rollover to the Roth. So like I said, plans offer flexibility. Anyone can actually contribute into the account. Any institution, school that accepts federal financial aid will accept an EdVest 529. So you don't have to worry about, oh, I'm not sure if it'll accept money. It doesn't have to be in the state of Wisconsin. You don't have to be a resident here to go to use the money. You can go to any state. It can be some schools that are abroad, as long as they accept financial aid, federal financial aid. Some of the schools, it's good for apprenticeship programs. So if your child decides they want to go into the apprenticeship field, like they want to be an arborist and they need to buy a harness for the trees and stuff, you can use your EdVest money to pay for the materials for an arborist, for a mechanic. It also, there's always schooling that goes with apprenticeship programs too. It can actually pay for the schooling and the books for that as well too. So anyone can contribute to the account. And like I had mentioned before, it can be used for any higher education. So it's your tuition, room, board, books, computers, anything for education. So the funds are invested. So they have the ability to earn compound interest over time. So that means the earlier you can save, the better. But like I said, it's never too late. So on this slide, I'm going to show from left to right, from your right to left, my left to right. Kind of the slide, the potential earnings you could have. So let's say you put $50 a month into an account, and this is taken into consideration at 6% interest. If your child is 15 and you put $50 in, by the time they're ready to graduate high school, they could have just under $2,000 in their account, which is pretty good, which can help pay for half the books kind of stuff for their first year of school kind of thing. And then if you were to start at age 10, they would be just a little over $6,000. And then if you're started $50 a month when they were first born, by the time 18 years is up, they'd have just around $20,000 worth of money that could be used for tuition, room, board, books. So that's all money they don't have to worry about student loan debts, paying back, and all that stuff, because you're already savings and investing for their future kind of thing. And like here, kind of reiterate the cost of schooling. Obviously, it's a huge difference from a 2-year public school to a 4-year private college, and then the in-between kind of thing. So it's just, these numbers are sometimes shocking when the students first get their acceptance of like, oh my gosh, school is gonna cost me $30,000. I don't have that money, how do I afford it? Well, it's not money you have to pay right now, but you do have to realize that's going to compound over how many years of schooling you're going to be in, and the scholarships you might have gotten, the grants you might have gotten. The main thing is the student loans, the private student loans you take out, or in the FAFSA, when the federal U.S. Department of Ag gives you your FAFSA, you realize, okay, I might not need this full amount of money that they're being offered. You don't have to take the full amount take what's only necessary, because like I said, every year you have to reapply. So every year you're going to be offered something, and that reduces the amount of student loan debt that you're going to end up with as well in the long run. So obviously with the cost of higher education, we know it's extremely expensive. We're right now at $1.8 trillion in student loan debt as a nation, which is a lot. In Wisconsin alone, we have over 727,000 borrowers with just under $23.2 billion in student loan debt, and that's just Wisconsin. So the average student loan balance is around just under $32,000, and that kind of breaks down to $334 a month for a student to have to pay back on a monthly basis their student loan debt. So this slide kind of shows, we know that $334 isn't a small amount. It can cover a car payment, all or half of it. It can be used towards rent. It can be put away for emergency savings. It can be part of a down payment on a home. But instead, the $334 goes to student loan debt and trying to pay that off. So we want to know, or we want you to know, that having a dedicated education savings is one of the most proactive ways to kind of reduce that amount of debt and the burden that's going to happen on a graduate kind of thing. So there's also other ways to kind of start saving versus, okay, everyone thinks I'm going to have so much student debt, but how do I prevent that from happening? We kind of look at this pyramid, and when you think about families paying for school, the pyramid is more of on the bottom. Think of a house. You want to build your foundation. It's strong. It's not going anywhere. It's sturdy. That's your savings, and that's kind of where you can put in your EdVest 529 money. Start saving for college, saving for education kind of thing. And then you want to build from that strong base and go into your scholarships, your grants, your work study programs, all the money that you aren't going to have to pay back at all, and know, okay, that's 2/3 of my pyramid that I won't have to worry too much about. And then to fill that gap, it's the part where then you'll end up looking for private loans and seeing, okay, maybe I don't have to take out a private loan. Maybe I did have enough money saved. Maybe when you talk to your children of, hey, put some skin in the game, how about you invest a little bit for your schooling, plus we'll be able to invest for schooling, and that might make up whatever they could have or might have needed for taking out student loans kind of thing. It's always good to talk and be open about college is expensive. How are we going to do this? There are families where the student knows, yep, my parents aren't going to pay for it at all, so how do I do this? And that's where grants come into a huge part of it too, and that's where you have to talk to schools, because there are certain grants that are available to students depending on their income and financial situation, where they might end up with the Bucky Promise program and all 4 years of school is paid for because of their financial situation. You know, like I said, it's always good to ask questions, always good to ask the financial aid office, and you don't even have to ask the financial aid office of the college that you're going to. Any financial aid office you can call and ask questions, and they're more than happy to help answer whatever questions you have along those lines. So as we know, the cost of higher education keeps on increasing, but we also know that individuals with any level of post-secondary education experiences higher wages. They are better job, kind of happier because they know that it was their choice to go to school. They're happier with their job. They know that they made the investment in themselves to get a better education, to move on, to figure out what they want to do with their life. And they just tend to be happier all around. It's a higher quality of life usually along those lines. So kind of the bottom line is, yes, college is expensive. Savings makes a huge difference. The sooner you can start, the better. But like I said, it's never too late. Like if your child's a senior right now, you can still start right now, because by the time they're in their 4th year of schooling, they're going to have them some money that's saved up that could pay for maybe all that schooling, half that schooling, some of the textbooks, something where they don't have to take out the student loans. And choose where you save carefully. So I want to emphasize kind of there are many ways to help support your child in their future and achieve their future education. Preparation for post-secondary education doesn't have to start junior year in high school, because a lot of people don't think about it until junior years in high school. It's good to start talking to your children or grandchildren in elementary school and middle school and supporting them, just getting to know general, who's your teacher, who are your friends, talking to them every day, like kind of stuff. Having positive experiences are important. And then saving and investing in their future with a tangible account, like an Advest College Savings Account, 529 account. It's an important way, and letting them know, hey, I'm saving for schooling. Because statistics show the more students that know that someone's saving for them, the 90% of them actually go on to schooling versus those that don't think anyone actually has saved for them or has started anything for them. If they don't know that there's a savings account for them or they're being invested for college, they aren't going to go to schooling. But those that know that they are, like I said, statistics have shown they're more willing to go to a 2-year college, 4-year college, or the apprenticeship program kind of thing. So, and then on this slide, there's a few other ways to kind of interact with children depending on age and how they are. But teach them about your interests, your career, your education. Let them know, how did you go to school if you went to school, or what was the path that you went on to kind of thing, and how you got to where you are kind of thing, and how you afforded. Obviously, schooling was a lot cheaper back for us than it is nowadays, but it's just one of those kind of be open about it. We know that we don't talk much about money and costs of things, but schooling is one of the important things because it's an investment in themselves. It's the same as kind of buying a house. You're going to go into debt, but that's good debt versus the bad debt of credit card debt that they might have of, oh, I'm going to buy $30,000 on a credit card and pay off just bare minimum. That interest goes sky high. You're going to end up paying double of what it was that you already spent on that card. Where in education, yep, it's expensive, but you're investing in yourself for your future. Okay. So, are there any questions? Yep.
As a grandparent, I have my own big set of my 2 grandsons. Will that take away their FAFSA parents?
No, that's a great question. Nope, that's a great question. So FAFSA, the changes with the FAFSA that happen is if a grandparent has their own account, Advest account, and investing in the child, they don't have to put that on the FAFSA anymore. It does not count against them and does not count as income. So 100% perfect and good. It does not come up at all for them. So it's not income that they have to report. If the parent has an Advest account, yes, you have to report it, but it's bare minimum on the formula that FAFSA comes out of. They have a little bit of income, but it doesn't hurt what the overall outcome is going to be. But if it's a grandparent one, they don't have to mention it at all. Any other questions?
Do you know, or have you seen any studies that show if a student helps pay for their education, if they're more likely to finish the 4 years?
So I don't have statistics, but I've been doing this for years, 23 years actually. I do know that if the student has skin in the game, they do actually graduate and they do move on and they do figure out a way to reduce the student debt that they're going to have because they're invested in themselves. It's not like, oh, it's money I didn't have to worry about. It's, wait, this is my hard-earned money that I'm paying to go on to education. So, yep. Any other questions?
The separate account, do you just have to list all? Like I have 2 grandchildren. Yeah, 2 separate accounts?
Nope. You can have, so when you have more than one beneficiary, it's one general account, which is your name, and then you can add, I have beneficiary A and then beneficiary B. So they're all, the 2 of them are under your account. They'll have 2 different kind of UGIF codes because it's 2 different people, but your account is the one count that's needed. Yeah.
And like say, if they don't go to school, you can, like I have 2 tiny little girls.
Yeah.
It'd be a long time for them.
Yeah.
But I could add them on or something, or I don't know, here you could just bump them down.
Yeah, so if you have one account open and just named for one person, and then you have a new grandchild coming in, you can open up an account for them, or you can just keep the oldest one's name as a beneficiary, and then when they're done with schooling, you can change that beneficiary to the next one, and then to the next one, to the next one.
And if there's any remaining balance,
It'll be, yep. And then if you want to roll it into a Roth IRA, whoever's named as the beneficiary at that time gets the Roth IRA. Yep. So we always recommend opening up one for each beneficiary versus the roll down effect, because you get the tax incentive too. So if you got 3 or 4 grandchildren, you get the taxes times 3 or 4 versus you only have the one. Yeah.
What is the Roth? How many years do you have to have it?
Right now, because it's brand new, we're still figuring out, but the account has to be open for 15 years. And I believe the beneficiary has to be named for at least 4 years
Okay.
without changing it. So it can't be a change right away type thing. Yeah. So, but the rest of the ins and outs, we're still figuring that part
I
out.
feel like you can like Google it a million times and
Yeah.
something is different every time.
Yeah, so I can tell you for sure it has to be open for 15 years,
Yeah.
and then the beneficiary has to be that named beneficiary, I believe, for at least the 4 years. Yeah. And you can continue to contribute into that account. Like there's no, I have to stop.
Okay.
It's just the rollover is, you don't get dinged for taxes like a normal Roth IRA kind of thing. This is just you're rolling it into so you won't get penalized for it at all.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions? Well, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you,
yeah.
Cheryl.
Mhm.